Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 99 of Dial the Gate. One more to that big number. Thanks so much for joining me. My name is David Reed. Bill Dow, Dr. Bill Lee, is joining us in this episode, and it is a pleasure to have him. Bill and I have never connected before. That is completely on me after all these years, and I am very grateful to be given the opportunity to fix that oversight. Before we get started with him, if you like Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal to me if you click the like button. It makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm and will definitely help the show grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. Giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my last minute guest change notifications. This is key if you plan on watching live, and clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few days on the gateworld.net YouTube channels. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring him in. Bill Dow, Dr. Lee, on Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe. Bill, do you realize you are one of 8 actors to appear in all 3 shows?
Is that right? I didn't realize it was that select a group.
Yes, you're a very, very small club. Richard Dean Anderson and Robert Picardo and a couple of other folks. It's just what a journey on of science fiction. You know, it's hard to believe it lasted for like 8 or 9 years for you in particular.
Yeah, at least. I mean, and no, it was great, and it was a fun show to do always, you know, right from the very beginning, and great group of people in each of the different shows to work with. And yeah, no, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
Bill, how old were you when you knew that you wanted to act? This is what you wanted to do, and you know, tell us about some of the people who helped to influence that decision.
Well, it's interesting. When I was first going to university, so, you know, I would have been, 19, 20 years old or something like that. That was really my first introduction. I took a drama class as what I thought would be an easy elective. And I just really liked it. And at that time I was studying education. I was thinking I'd be an English teacher or something. Okay. But I found myself spending more and more time at the drama department and just hanging out with the people there, because they were interesting people. They were lively. There was so much going on, and I just kind of fell into it at that point. And you know, I never really, even then, I didn't aspire to be an actor really, but I just found that I wasn't very technically adept. So it became the only thing that I could really do. So. And then when I finished university, I ended up, somebody offered me a job in a play in a theater, and I did that. And then another one happened, and then another one. And I just kind of was an actor doing theater jobs for years. And then I just went, oh, I guess I'm an actor. I guess that's what I am.
This is what I'm doing now. You turned around and that's what it was. Well, it sounds like you went from, a place where this is a cool group of people. They're interesting. They're not boring. To hey, this gig has utility. You know, I can make things work with this.
Exactly. I think that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
And you just never went back. Now your example I hear very often, and it makes me, hope that people who are listening and watching say, if you're interested in something, even something minor, go and give it a shot and give yourself an opportunity to see what you can do with it. You may find that you love it beyond just some casual interest. You may find that you fall in love with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would absolutely agree with that. And I think that, when you're interested in something, that appetite creates initiative, and then you start taking classes, you start meeting people, you start talking about it, it becomes an obsession. And through that you practice, you get better, and then things start falling your way, and you do kind of make your own luck. And I'm the first to say I've been very privileged in this, and I kind of landed in a time where there was opportunity for people like me to do that. But as I say, like you just keep working and you keep driving your interest, and that opens doors in itself,
Tell us about the journey that led you to Dr. Lee in Prodigy in 2001. A minor scientist character, expository dialogue, getting through the point of the episode, and then it becoming something else. But tell us about that first audition, if you can recall it.
I can, and this is a thing that's interesting because I think the world has changed since when that happened, and I think we're all a little bit more aware, and I think we're seeking. I mean, even then, to their credit, they were seeking diversity. So the short answer is, I got this audition from my agent. And I went there, and in the waiting room, there was me and 6 young Asian women. And six young
Asian women and you.
Yes. And so I left, I went out, and there wasn't cell phones at that time. So I went and found a phone. I phoned my agent. I said, are you sure I'm in the right place? Like, this just doesn't look right. And he said, yeah, that's good. He said, I know you're an outside choice, but they wanted to throw you in, so just do it. Don't worry about it. And I went, okay, sure. So there I was, and all the other Dr. Lees, and they all went in, and then I went in, and it was, who knows why. But I'll tell you a couple others. With Gary Jones, who's the gate guy, I auditioned for that part too. And I couldn't even. I just went, so what I'm supposed to say, Chevron 1 encoded, Chevron 2, and that was it. And I just went, this is dumb. But Gary.
Jonesy embraced it.
Exactly. And he took it, he found a thing to do, which was fantastic. What else? Oh, I'll tell you another one. I can't remember even what I think it was called Pasadena or something like that. Some show that was short-lived. But I went to an audition, and it was supposed to be for an Irish punk rock ponytailed medical examiner. And, no ponytail, no Irish. But there was all these other guys sitting there with bandanas and ponytails and, Hawaiian shirts or whatever. And I was just me, and I was just there. But I got that part too. So you never know. You never know.
You just never know what they're looking for or what flair you bring to the table. It's one of the things that I heard Gary Jones talk about once, where they'll have a casting call for a doctor, and Gary, for instance, would go there and be surrounded by people in lab coats and stethoscopes, and he was like, as far as he was concerned, you have to convince the casting director through your acting, not through your wardrobe.
Right.
It's little things like that. It's just. If you can serve the material by what you have to say, but the material's there, but with what you have to say, but how you have to say it, then that's your leg up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's it. And then, it's about you develop yourself. You figure out your own interests. You figure out what's unique and individual about you, and then you try to bring it to the table. And that's really the thing.
So there were a lot of Asian Lees considered. Yes. And then we went with you and 2 or 3 other, I can't remember the number of scientists in this particular episode in Prodigy, on a moon where you were under attack by fireflies.
Right.
Tell us about that experience.
Oh, it was great. It was fun. But there would be there was a lot of expository dialogue, right? And there would come a line, and somebody, RDA, But
It's true.
somebody would say, I'm not going to say that. That's ridiculous. I can't say that. And I'd go, I'll say it. And he'd go, yeah, let him say it. So it was just, and I just kind of kept, I don't know. I was there. I was having a good time. I thought, what the hell? I'll just play along. I can do this. I can do that. So it was fun. It was great fun. So we developed a rapport right off the top for that. And I think Peter DeLuise was directing that one. And he thought it was pretty funny too. And since then we've become very good friends. And he was laughing, and he made me run from, I don't know if it's still in there, but he made me run from the bushes way over there and all the way to the camera. And he said, can you run that far? I said, yeah. And so I went and I ran and I got there, and he said, that's good. Can you do it again? I said, yeah.
That sounds like Peter.
And he made me run that about 4 or 5 times. He went, you're in good shape.
He is, in so many ways, a sadistic director, but he makes sure that everyone has a good time.
Oh yeah,
jeez, crazy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So going from that to Paradise Lost, one of the things that I always loved about Stargate was its almost mandate of returning past players to establish that this was a cohesive world, particularly of scientists.
Right.
Where there were multiple teams, there were multiple jobs, there was always something else to do, and pretty much everyone was like, "No, I'm going to go to the next planet. Not I'm leaving this, or I've been reassigned." There was a lot of reason to have you guys return, and you came back in Paradise Lost, another serious episode, where particularly Sam, Amanda Tapping's character, is dealing with a crisis, trying to figure out how she's going to get her leader back. Right. And there's a lot of subtext there about, how long am I willing to, put my team out for this? And you're the one who says, we're done. We're not going to do this anymore, and pushes back against her, who in this instance, one of the few instances where she's teetering on irrational behavior. And right. You stand up to her and say, this is ridiculous. He's gone. There's nothing else to do. We have no more information. That was a bigger chunk of performance, and it began pushing you into a recurring role.
Yeah, interesting. I hadn't really thought about that, but I think that's right. I mean, what I always used to try to do, like the way I always thought about Dr. Lee, was I would really like, I wasn't a hero. There was a lot of heroes on that show. I wasn't a hero. I was just a guy. And I just wanted to be like, no, man, we're out in the middle, and no.
Yeah.
Let's go home. Come on.
That's absolutely true.
And I just tried to think, if I was the most normal person amidst all these heroes, and I tried to take that through all of the shows too, I'm just a guy. But yeah, so that's interesting. It's interesting you point that out, and thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. The character was given a little bit more every time we saw him, and I think that has to do with the fact that they see something in their actors and in their talent, and it's like, okay, let's start mining this just a little bit more. In Evolution 1 and 2, that was a powerhouse for you and Shanks.
Right.
You guys had half of the episode in each one of those to explore this. Being captured by Honduran militants. I mean, that, as far as I'm concerned, that just shouts Stargate. You know?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Tell us about that experience.
Oh, it was so much fun. And Michael and I, we had a great time. But I mean, some of the stunt stuff was hilarious. I mean, we had to, like, the one where we come up out of, like, the yes. water crashing in, and so what they did was they dug a hole, and then they dropped this tank, like it was like a dumpster that was dropped down into the ground, and it was full of water. But they so me and Shanks had to get in there, and then Oh man. So then they said, well, he has to come out first. And I said, okay. And then they
And
said,
you're in there as well.
yeah. And then they said, but we want to think you're dead. So you got to let the water settle before you come up. And so I'm underneath there holding my breath, right? And meanwhile, Shanks is acting his ass off up on top. And I'm sitting there going, and then finally when I come out and I'm gasping for air, I'm really gasping for air. I mean, it was very funny. It was a lot of fun to do, though.
Was that
and
one
then,
take?
Well, no, I think we did it a couple of times.
Oh gosh.
But they needed the one where the water settled. They wanted. I think after that, I didn't have to. Then it could just come up.
They got that one on film.
Yeah, and then so then when we were supposed to be inside the cave and the water was supposed to wash us away, same thing. They had a dumpster on a front end loader full of water, and we were in there kind of trying to do the Indiana Jones thing, whatever the hell we were doing. And they just dumped this water on us, and it just washed us right out. It was hilarious. It was very funny. Oh my God.
And then getting caught by a Honduran dissident group, terrorist group for all intents and purposes, and having to that looked like hell. Having to exist in that small outdoor stall and getting electrocuted.
Right. Yes. It was pretty it was good. It was a great set. It was a great setup and a fun episode. The guy who was the head of the Honduran, I can't remember his name right now, but he was really good.
Let me have a look at this. I always like to give credit where it's due here.
Yes, please.
Let me see. That would have been.
He's done a lot of great stuff since. I've seen
Victor Favren as
Yeah.
Chalo, and let me see here. Was the Frank Roman as Raphael? Frank Roman.
Frank. So he was terrified of the cockroaches.
Really?
Oh yeah. So he was like, "Wah!" he wouldn't go in the shot with them. So we had to kind of shoot around that. It was fun.
Oh no. The things that you're asked to do as actors face a lot of your fears. Some of them, like all of us, have irrational ones.
Right, exactly.
That is too funny. You went in Heroes Part 1, we begin to see a little bit of a transformation into the humor, where you have a demonstration of the technology that's going to be they're going to start inserting into the suits to protect the vests to protect the SGT members from staff blasts. Right. And it's one of the practical situations on set where Dan Shea, got to behave as he truly is as a stuntman, getting a staff blast shot. At this point, I'm starting to notice the transformation of the character to more to one not that just of an expository scientist in odd situations like torture and international situations, but more of a just more of a humorous, lighthearted role. What's happening here at this point, Bill? What do you think is causing this?
Well, I think I know. I mean, they leave the camera running after the scene is done. And so I would just always say something. I would always have some kind of end to the scene. Like I'd let the scene end and then I would say something else. But I know they're watching it and the writers are watching it and starting to enjoy my sense of humor about stuff. And so then they started, and I know I talked to Brad and he was talking about it, a bit and about how they were looking for those opportunities and they were going to kind of go in this way. So it became kind of a thing where they would, once, and I've had this on other shows too, the writers start to hear your voice and they start to hear who you are. And then they start to bring the character to that, because they want the personality, they want the quirkiness that you have. And so, but they're really good at hearing things and finding rhythms and opportunities and stuff. And so I think it was part of that. I think it was mostly these kind of ad libs after the scene that opened that door for them, and then they started to do it. But yeah, Dan Shea is great. I see him every once in a while riding his bike around. We're both
same neighborhood.
Well, not really, but we both go on a long bike ride.
Oh, so good for you. Absolutely, yeah. No, I've heard so often the writers say, if the actor is giving us something promising, we're crazy to not at least, explore it. Joseph Malazzi was really big on that. He'd go down and say, hey, what's this? And the actor would say, oh, I do this on the side or whatever. And then the next day, the actor would find out that it was in the pages. Right. Sharon Taylor, as Amelia Banks, said that exactly with Joe. She expressed, her black belt background. And then all of a sudden she was kicking ass with Jason Momoa in an episode. So do you have a comedy background? It sounds like you've done stand-up or some kind of...
Oh, no, I've never done stand-up,
okay.
But I've been in comedic shows, But I rode my motorcycle to the studio one day, and I remember Cooper coming out and going, oh, that's interesting. How'd you like to be in a motorcycle chase? I went, yeah. But it never came to pass. But that's just another instance of that. But
wow. Yeah, I love my bike too. You got to get some two-wheeled therapy, man.
Yeah.
And it turns into a character that goes for 3 television series after those early shots at trying some more humor and more opportunities to come on screen. Some of the best scenes that I remember from the franchise are with you, particularly. I'm a World of Warcraft player.
Oh yeah,
and so I need to pull up and give proper credit here, because the fans have definitely been wanting to know. We all enjoyed your World of Warcraft moments. Emma Bentley says, but have you played the game?
Actually, I must confess I haven't. But I remember that scene so well. Like, Tori's fantastic, and there was just my heart was all aflutter, and I was trying to impress her. It was good, but I'd love to know more about it. But I had never played World of Warcraft. No,
it's so interesting because Martin Garrow was trying to do something humorous there, and I have to tell you, a mage is not a race. It's a class. And they're 2 different things. You have races, you have classes, and they go hand in hand. But I wish he had paid a little bit more attention to that, though, because we all look at that and we go, oh. But it's a great scene.
Yeah, no, it was a fun scene to do for sure.
And then a few episodes later, because I'm a continuity geek. A few episodes later, there's a reference to you having kids. So where you were talking about the Twilight bark.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I guess he's divorced. That's the only explanation. Or he never married her or something or whatever.
Right. That's what I figured too. Because you get these surprises. You go, oh, kids. Okay.
Right, sure. Exactly. Now, how do I work that in?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's funny. I mean, the name came the same way. That it was like RDA one day, he said, what's your name? I said, Bill. What do you mean? He said, okay, Bill. You're Bill.
Right. And Michael Shanks uses that in Evolution 2, I believe.
Yeah.
So I always wondered if that's one thing else I was going to ask you. Always wondered if that was an ad lib or if that was. So I guess that was Rick's influence.
I think so. And I think that's the way I remember it. But I think there was another thing. Oh, I remember the Seymour thing, right? People thought Seymour was my name, but he was referring to the plant.
The Little Shop of Horrors reference. Yeah, for a while there, everyone thought it was Seymour.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Now Will Rabb is asking, what level is your mage now? I just had to ask.
Oh my God. That's a stumper. You answer for me, David.
Oh, he's got to be at least 90 or 95. No, actually, probably you've got several maxed out 100s. So
Oh yeah.
I haven't played the game in a while, but I need to get back to it. Let me see here. Jack asked, do you recall any discussions with the writers or directors regarding specifically dialing up the humor, giving you more opportunities to do there, or just finding the script was delivered and it was there on the page and you just got to make a meal out of it?
Well, it's interesting. The plant, that Seymour episode that we were talking about, I can't remember the name of it.
0 Hour.
Which is it? Oh yeah, 0 Hour. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we and Rick and I, we had those weird goggles on for a while, you know, and it just like it was hilarious because they gave us these goggles, the props guys, and they said, I don't think you probably want to wear these, but you should have them. And I went, no way, are you kidding? I'm wearing those.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Rick put them on too, and so we were both doing that. It was very fun. But the director of that episode, I started going a little bit off script in that episode, and he said, well, that's not your line. Your line is whatever it is. And Rick kind of said, oh, that's okay. Bill gets to say whatever he wants. And I went, okay, I didn't know that, but sure.
Producer. So you got a producer on set in the form of an actor. But that says you're trusted to waste a little bit of tape, knowing that chances are it's going to be good.
Yeah, and they, you know, I'm trying to keep it within the parameters, and I'm sensitive to, like, I'm not going to blow up the show or anything like that, you know. And the serious parts you take seriously, and the parts where there's a little bit more latitude, you can have it, you know. And yeah, it's just a sensitivity there, I think.
As long as you are staying true to the documents, and particularly to the spirit of what the folks who wrote it are getting across, as long as you hit those notes and drive those points home, you know, why not? Why not try to give them something else?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's it. And I think it was Joe who I was talking to one time, and he used to write for like really like big serious mainstream drama like NYPD Blue and stuff like that. And I said, why are you here? And he said, those shows become soaps. He said, science fiction is actually where you can address the big questions, where you can talk about good and evil, and you can talk about morality and stuff like that. And I just went, you know, that's absolutely right. And I loved that. And yeah.
There are modern cultural issues that you can tackle from episode to episode. And people who are just watching it for the entertainment value will get that. But people who are watching it, you know, to have their brains turned on as opposed to off, will see some subtext there as well if they're looking for it.
Absolutely.
That's the thing about sci-fi. Like I've said this before, you know, you can paint a guy black on one side and white on the other, and the other guy the opposite, and you can have a discussion about race. In the late 60s, when, you know, you can't go near this stuff on television, but because of the way how it's accessed, it allows us to go, okay, let's think about that, you know? And that's what Stargate did as well in many episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great that, absolutely. Bringing those social questions in is because it's just at a little bit of distance, right?
Yes.
So you can talk about it and nobody gets upset, really.
Yes.
Which is great.
It's safer, and you can approach those problems more accessibly.
Yeah, absolutely.
William Aarons wanted to know, did Bill's Charles Burke's X-Files character inform his portrayal of Dr. Lee? And were you ever mistaken for Tom Braidwood, who played Melvin Frohike on the X-Files in the Lone Gunman spin-off series? I'm not familiar with X-Files that much.
Right. Well, I was a little bit. The Lone Gunmen were a kind of an advisory group to David Duchovny's character, but then I became his old college buddy, and so I kind of had traveled the same territory, but not on the conspiracy side, more on the actual hard science side. I suppose the kind of I guess what I would say that the bemused man of science and slightly befuddled in the ways of the world, that was similar possibly between Chuck Burke and Dr. Lee. But the world is a confusing place, but science, I got it.
Emily Cheatham, my question for Bill: what did you enjoy most about working on this show and with this cast? And what do you feel you have most in common with Dr. Lee?
I loved the people. I mean, just the crew, the cast, everything. It was such a great place to go to work. It really was. And for those guys that were in every episode, and to have as little friction as there was, and there was a real collegial sense to it, and everybody still had fun, and that, I think that was part of what I brought too, is that every once in a while I could come in and kind of shake things up, and then they didn't have to talk to each other anymore. They could talk to me for a little bit. But I'll never forget the episode, and I think it was somewhere in the Midway Station where Jason and Chris were there. Like these two monstrous people, they're huge. And I just kind of looking up at them. And then we all cram into that one little room, and I just went, oh man, I just got to get out of
here. 24 hours, gentlemen. You enjoy yourselves. Jeez.
It was very funny. I love the situations and the things that were possible. And then when I had him in the chair in that simulator game, that was terrifying, because I didn't want anything to happen, and I knew it was like somehow I'd screwed up, And I was like, it was really hard on everybody. But that's the thing. It's like that's what I'm saying about just bringing the humanity to it. It's like, I had a great idea, we did it, and then it didn't work, and I'm just
because we can all relate to that. This has got to go good, and then and now this guy may die in this instance.
Exactly. And that was the bridge that I thought I created in the show. Like, I think that was my unique place, that I could bring the viewers in through just that humanity, but still through whatever credentials or whatever I happened to be in this situation. And I did have good ideas, but sometimes they didn't work. And then it was just a nightmare, because I had such respect for all those people and, the world-saving stuff they were doing, but.
Which of that core cast would you really look forward to working with the most? Melissa Smith wanted to know.
Well, all of them, really. I mean, Amanda and I had a bunch of fun stuff, and I really liked that. That was great. And those episodes with Shanks when we were out, that was a great time. And we became very close. And we were on another show, which I can't remember right now, but we ended up having a fight scene, and it was fun. But on this, because we got into it,
Right.
But and Rick, of course, always. He was a guy who would play, like, and he was looking for some way to break out of just being the straight ahead kind of guy. And so when I came up with that opportunity for him, he just loved it. He would just jump right in with both feet. So
with a magnifying glass, if he could get away with it. Him and those magnifying glasses. He knew what he was doing. Man, was that funny.
Oh yeah.
I have a lot of fans in here. Redux. Let me see. I did not organize this well. I apologize.
That's okay.
And several other actors are asking, would you be game for the Antonio Litera? Would you be game for the fourth Stargate series that Brad Wright is trying to get off the ground?
Oh, totally. If there's a place for me, I would love to be in it. I mean, absolutely.
Where do you think the show can go next? Where do you think it hasn't gone before?
I don't know. I mean, that's a great question. Huh. Where would I send it? It'll be, you know what? So somehow when we're talking about the big questions and stuff and the possibility of looking at things through the sci-fi lens, it feels like we're in this climate crisis, right? And if there was some, and I'm not clever enough to know how it would work, but if there was some way that you could talk about that and about how we need to change our behavior and become more in tune with the planet and its systems. I'd love that. I think we need a show about that somewhere.
Okay. At least leverage that as a plot point.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Stargate program should be disclosed? If it were up to you, and this thing were going to go into a fourth series, do you think that would be advantageous, or would you want to keep it a secret?
Well, that'd be an interesting thing. If it got discovered, that's a great fulcrum for all sorts of conflict and nefarious others trying to get in or infiltrators or stuff like that. So, that's a cool thing too. Like the kind of pseudo Cold War kind of spy world that creates if there's somebody gets inside that shouldn't be or whatever. So that'd be another way to go. That'd be kind of cool, depending on how dark you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. With Universe, it went pretty dark, especially set wise. It was pretty. It was one of the darker the darker sets that there was. What was it like going from SG-1 to Atlantis to Universe through that generation of change to actually inhabiting someone else's? I think you were inside of Eli, if I'm not mistaken. You had the "You Are Here" shirt.
That's right.
What was that like? What was that like being with that cast of players?
Well, it was fun. I was kind of hoping there would be more opportunities, but I would have loved to have done that. To kind of have those echoes of the other person and try and work with that. I was looking forward to that, and I was hoping there'd be more. But it was fun. I think going from SG-1 to Atlantis, there's just like a subtle difference, just because of the different personalities, different storylines, and it was refreshing. It was fresh. It was new, and just to kind of plop myself into that. And again, it was using the truth of the situation, because I didn't know anybody, right? And I was a new guy in the thing, in the same way that I was. And that's great. It's like, oh, cool. Okay. What are we doing? So that's cool. That's always fun that you can carry, who you are, but you don't know what else is going on somewhere else.
That's one of the frustrating things about Universe, as far as I'm concerned, is that it had so much promise. They were laying down track in front of the train for at least a 4 or 5 season game plan, and I'm really hopeful that if and when Brad is allowed to move forward with SG4, that we're going to see something that gives some of those some proper answers to a lot of what came before, so that we can go back and watch seasons 1 and 2 and go, okay, I see now.
Well, I think you've struck on something there, because I think in our current TV climate where we're streaming stuff and we're binging on episodes and we see them all at once.
Correct.
I think the narrative structure of that one would have worked better now, because I think people who didn't watch it every day or missed a week or something, I think you could lose a thread and then feel like you weren't connected. Whereas now we have the long form TV drama, because everything's on a streaming service somewhere. And so you watch episode after episode, and if you miss it, you can pick it up when you want it to. And I think that, because I think what the ambition was really cool, but I think it was maybe a little bit ahead, or just not quite situated right, It
was way ahead of its time. The pacing of it is, to this day, one of the things that fans of the other shows critique the most, because it was unpacking. It was taking its time unpacking. And now then the other fans like me will then jump in and say, but every show does that now. And that's
Right.
acceptable. So were Universe to come on now, it would be a big hit.
I think that's true. I think that's absolutely true. Because, you know, when SG1 was, it was like you had a 1 hour thing and there had to be an adventure, and you could have an arc go maybe 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
But you really had to have something happen in that hour, right? And it had to complete. And I think I agree completely. And I think that's absolutely true. It would if it had come around now, it would be a great success.
Bill, what can we expect to see you? What are you working on right now? Anything going on that you want us to be on the lookout for?
Well, I did a really interesting independent. It's probably going to be packaged as a web series.
Okay.
But it's a 90 minutes, so it's kind of indie feature length. And it happened last summer in the pandemic, and it was inspired by the killing of George Floyd.
Okay.
And this friend of mine here, Ben Ratner, wrote this show because it was his experience. He was an acting teacher, and he was like, the pandemic had forced all acting classes onto Zoom.
Gosh, right? Yes.
And so here he was, and he was like an acting teacher, and he had these 6 people in his acting class and 1 Black woman. And when that happened, his inability to cope with the situation just forced him to write this show. And the show's called Trigger Me. And I just saw it. I don't think it's been released yet, and I don't know where or how it's going to be released. But I was playing the acting teacher, and there was some great, but it was like this. It was like you and me right now. This is how we shot it, and so it was a really interesting experiment. But that'd be cool. I mean, when it comes out, that'd be a cool thing. And then, other than that, Hallmark is my friend these days. So every once in a while I turn up there.
Yeah, it's August, September, the Christmas movies, they start coming through. It's like dozens and dozens of them, So that's steady, gainful employment, Got it. Yeah. I completely, and there's some of them are gems, absolutely. Yeah. But so much of it is, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, okay, guys, we've done this one. So.
Yeah. And other than that, I got, I don't know, I was looking for new and different adventures a few years ago, and I went back to school and I did my PhD.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did an interdisciplinary PhD in theater and classical mythology. So I studied ancient Greek and Roman myths. And so I've been working on that, but that's not going to show up on your TV anywhere, but,
Well, you know what? We'll keep our ear to the ground, and you've got my email. If
okay,
you want us to look out for anything specific, you let us know, and we'll do that. This is what we do.
Okay, well, that's great. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. I really appreciate you coming on, Bill. I really appreciate you taking the time, and you are one I've enjoyed watching, for years on this program. And if there is going to be an SG4 that Brad gets to produce, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see Dr. Lee again. I just have a feeling.
Well, I would honestly love it, David. And I got to say, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. And thank you for this. Thank you for inviting me. And thanks to everybody sending in questions and stuff. And I hope I see you all somewhere out in the universe there.
Oh yeah, conventions aren't done. They'll come back.
Sometime. Yeah.
My thanks once again to Bill Dow for joining us in this episode of Dial the Gate. What's going to happen next? So we are going to be going on a bit of a summer hiatus. I am going to continue to produce content for the channel, so don't unsubscribe just yet. You're going to be seeing some other projects that we've been working on. I'm particularly excited about. Since this is a pre-recorded episode, a lot of this is still in the early stages. But there's going to be more content coming. And the weekend of July the 23rd, San Diego Comic-Con will be publishing the first version of the Stargate Atlantis cast reunion, which is 45 minutes long. And then a couple days later, probably the exact date is still tentative. At San Diego Comic-Con, I'm not allowed to technically announce it yet, but I'm planning on the 25th, the Sunday, July 25th, to play the 90-minute version for you as episode 100 right here at youtube.com/dialthegate. My thanks to everyone who submitted questions. My thanks to my moderating team for all of these episodes. Summer, Keith, Tracy, Jeremy, Reese, Anthony, you guys are rock stars. To my production assistant, Jennifer Kirby, and my producer, Linda Gategabber Fury. Thanks so much for all that you guys have done. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. This has been episode 99. We'll see you in 100 in about a month or so, a little less. And I'll see you on the other side.